Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Dave Yoster, President of the Managed Service Provider Association of America. Today, we are joined by Cliff Pollan from WELO. This interview that we're doing for those who are watching is really going to be interesting for you guys. What Cliff is going to talk about is something that most people have not even seen before. So, Cliff, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Dave, it's great to be with you and to be able to share.
So, Cliff, I'm going to jump straight into it, right? So, I just said that, WELO is something a lot of people have not seen before. Tell us a bit about WELO.
Sure. So we're a spatial work application, and the concept there is how do we have teams and organizations and communities that are now working more and more at a distance from each other? How do we help them to be productive and thrive?
So if I was watching this, now I know what you mean, right? But if
Right.
someone was watching this, what does that mean exactly? Is there a comparison somewhere along the line?
Yeah, there is. In some sense, think of when you went to a physical office, if we want to use an office as an example.
Okay.
And if we took a very simple version of that office, and you could be in that office. Now, we're not talking about the metaverse and 3D and all of those things. We're talking about
Sure.
something that's very practical, where you're represented in that space. You can move around to your colleague's office, and you can see who's talking to whom, like you might in an office, and have that ability to sort of work together in a very visual environment that is simple to understand.
You mentioned metaverse there, and I actually want to come back to that very quickly. We are going to throw the space up on the interview in a few minutes here, but
Yeah.
you mentioned the metaverse is, VR, AI, all of that is like kind of consuming the technology world. Your platform, WELO, is a web-based platform, correct?
That's correct.
So if I'm sitting at home, I'm sitting on my living room chair, and I want to use a VR headset, can I get into your space through a VR headset?
You can't right now.
Okay.
Today, and quite honestly, we haven't spent the resources to try but that's the roadmap. Is today you come in a browser,
Sure.
and you don't need any special glasses or goggles, and you're in the space, and you've got all of this sort of both connectedness and awareness of your colleagues, of work that's taking place. The natural piece here, is some people eventually may be wearing an Apple Vision Pro. They may be wearing a metaverse, a Quest, a headset, and that they can have a different experience, but be part of that. So going in that direction.
Okay, so I understand that part, but I have a VR headset,
Right.
and often I put it on, and sometimes I go to Netflix, which is a web browser based.
Right.
Your platform, even though I can still access it through the web browser in a VR headset, correct?
That's correct. You can.
Okay.
You can do that.
That is phenomenal. That makes a huge difference. And people who are watching us don't really understand that yet. And they'll understand in a few minutes when we go over to your space there. Before we go into more of the technical and the features, tell us a bit about how WELO came about.
Sure. I think that, and this has been a journey, quite honestly, for over 10 years. The concept, and I will tell you, in the little bit of the story, in 1980, long time ago, I left my New York office and I moved to Minnesota to I was following her career.
Sure.
And I had to work remotely. Since 1980, I ended up with 100 people throughout the US that I had to figure out how to work with and manage. And that stuck with me. And so the vision for this we created a great organization that was working at a distance, but what might help us to do that? And so we've all seen that. We've been working at a distance. How could you take all the benefits of a physical space and in today's technology, let people connect, let them work together, let them have immediate access to relevant resources? And that's what we've tried to do, is physical concepts in quote, a digital experience.
Okay, I think this is a perfect time to actually show your platform so
Right.
we understand what that all means.
Right.
I'm going to throw it on the screen there. So this is your WELO space, and for anyone who's watching now, this is customizable. You can change this to look however you want. Correct, Cliff?
That's correct. That's correct.
So I'm gonna zoom in here, and if you have an idea where you want me to go, just let me know. So right now I'm in your space, and that's me over there, right? So I
That's
can
correct.
zoom in. One of the
Yep.
things that I love about this is I can zoom in and I can see, oh, okay, is there going to be a coffee table there, or you can actually see people's faces, which is nice. One of the other nice things that I like about it, I'm going to go over here to this office over here.
Yes.
All right, so this is Chance. We all know Chance. All right, now under this resources here, I've looked at this often, and I can click on that and I can see a bunch of resources. For a company that is doing this, they can have various rooms with resources, instructions, correct, right?
That's correct. So, Dave, you're showing a couple, I think, first of all, critical pieces. One is the space is something where people mentally understand that this is a place, Chance is sitting there, you could go join him and immediately have a conversation. And just the concept, if you zoom out a second and we'll come back to the resources, all of a sudden you were represented, you're sitting in the lobby there. I could come in and sit next to you over here on the couch, and there I am sitting next to you, and I've just joined you in that space. And I can move over, I can, move away from you a little bit if I want, if it feels a little bit too close. So the concept is, as you zoom out now, I have situational awareness that Enrique is sitting at his desk. I can see that two of our colleagues, Leanne and Erin, are in that innovation room in the upper left, and you see their avatars lighting up. And that's indicating that they're having a conversation together. So I can't hear what they're saying. It's private, but I know they're together and that they're working together. They can also see that I'm available. And if they wanted to, they could just ask me to jump in to the room. So, Dave, as you know, the things we're doing here is to create a space that's pretty. I'd like to think it's an Apple-like interface. It's pleasing. It's radiating different information about my colleagues, resources, as you've said, that are in rooms to help with context. So we've got, in there, our customer success has relevant documents when we're working with customers. So I'm so glad, Dave, that we took a minute here and you could open up. What I would do, Dave, actually, is if you go to the big gathering room, some of these are private documents for us. If you scroll back just a little bit and you open up the big gathering circle and those resources, you could open up the WELO guest book on the upper right, and that will open up a guest book that people can sign, and you'll see it open up here right in WELO. So what I wanted to share with everybody, and Dave, you help me here, that the context that we are able to digitize is familiar in terms of how we work together, but we can also project information and help organize information for immediate access. Often we have a Miro board, or we have a document we want to share, or it could be a spreadsheet. Having those in the right context in a room is incredibly helpful. So this is what spatial work is. Yes, Dave.
Yeah. So Cliff, we could spend the next hour going into this. Unfortunately, we don't have that time. We are going to be doing an in-depth webinar on all the features, because there are so many features in this. I know that, you know that, right?
Right.
But just to give our audience a general perspective of what this means. So when you say a digital virtual reality, this is what you're talking about, where we can have these meetings. It makes a lot more sense once you see it in action, right?
That's right.
I'm going to take that off the screen. Let's get back to WELO.
Sure.
All right, great. So we just saw the WELO platform, phenomenal platform for anyone who is looking at this. Now, I know one of the big questions that a lot of people ask is privacy. And I know that we can lock rooms. I understand that, right? And also another big question that comes up is, where else can I use this? So besides for in-house meetings, what else can this application be used for?
Sure. I think if we, first of all, start with the second question, come back to the privacy
Sure.
question in a second. Um, the space can be used for internal work. We have people who are using it with their partners and have partner spaces where their partners are coming in to collaborate with them. We have places where you touch your customers. So do you have a live, customer success area where customers can come in and meet with you? And then the other application, which I think is highly relevant for the members, is right now, if I go to your website, I can read about you. I maybe can chat. But what happens if I want to have a conversation now because I'm so interested? So
Sure.
we have people who are meeting, letting their prospects or current customers drop in and have an ad hoc conversation. And you compare that to a, I don't know, sales development rep making 100 phone calls.
Sure.
Um, if somebody wants to come in and have a conversation right now, maybe that's a really good thing. And we have people doing that as well. So those are a couple of the different applications that we're seeing.
Sorry, Cliff, I have to ask this other question is, we all know there's a lot of virtual calling conference utilities. You have Teams, you have Zoom, you have all of these other ones. I think I know the answer already, but I have to ask
Right.
you, what is so different and unique about WELO that changes this whole environment?
Um, I would say it's the same as when we think of a mobile phone for those of us who used to carry those to a smartphone. Um, Zoom and Teams and Zoom are wonderful. Sort of, you can collaborate. I can message you. I can have a video call. There is something about creating an experience and this whole concept of how we're going to bring people together, that and we are visual people. So you can do so much when you want to digitize and visualize in an approachable way. We're not yet ready to sit with Apple Vision Pro on our heads for 8 hours a day or the metaverse or any of that, because that's such a deep, trying to be so rich. We think
Yeah,
there's just, quite honestly, a very practical approach here.
yeah. And I think one of the things that stood out for me when I was in your environment, and the MSPA also has an environment with you guys as well. But
Right.
right off the bat, one of the things that I noticed is that if I want to jump on a virtual meeting with, say, our CXO, and he's in another room, I don't need to send a whole new calendar invite with a new Teams link or a new Zoom link. I can just jump into that room. If he's available, great. If he's not, he just says no, right?
The-
But at a very high level, you can do that with an entire company. So you reduce the whole email back and forward. You reduce a lot of the Teams and links and Zoom links, et cetera, and it just makes it one collaboration in a very pretty cool place, as far as I'm concerned.
Dave, we have a statistics. I want to do an and to what you said. The majority, by far, of conversations that happen in WELO are under 5 minutes. So about 80% of the conversations that occur, quote, in the virtual office, that says, hey, Dave, I have a quick question for you. Can we just go talk about this? I don't need to schedule a 30-minute meeting. So that rapid short that we're helping to facilitate, I think, has been just so valuable from both a productivity and accessibility perspective.
And I agree with that. Cliff,
Y-
we actually just on our time limit now, but in closing, do you have any closing comments that you want to say for anyone who's watching now or in the future?
Yes, for the for your members, I think this is something that gets people's attention. We're eager to work with them. I think this sales use case is something they all should consider, which is make yourself try this, test that, put it on your website and see if people show up. Love to explore that with you as well. So we're here to work with you.
Right. So anyone who is interested, or if you just want to have a look, jump down to WELO Space. The URL is down at the bottom. Again, there you do not have to register. You do not have to put your email in. You just put a name in so they know who you're speaking to, and you jump straight in. That's one of the things that I also loved. And we are going to do a very in-depth webinar on the entire WELO system, what the pros are for you and for your companies. But go have a look, jump in, go speak to Chance, who is in there right now. I know that for a fact. Or speak to anyone on the team. Cliff, thank you so much for this time. Thank you so much for the insight. It's been, it's been phenomenal, and it's really a game changer here.
Dave, thank you so much, and for the great work you and your team are doing. Thank you.
Cliff, thanks. Everyone, thanks very much, and have a fantastic day.